Life of Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven Biography Part 1, Youth. Beethoven was born in 1770 in Bonn, Germany. Both his father and grandfather were professional singers, so musicianship was in the family. He started learning piano around age 4, taught by his father. He had a natural gift and got good quickly. Later on, he became an assistant organist, and also played the viola for the Prince Elector's orchestra. He loved it and thrived in a highly musical environment. He moved to Vienna when he was 22 to study with the famous composer Haydn, who Beethoven thought was the greatest composer of all time. Because of his enormous piano-playing gifts, Beethoven was surrounded by the curious and interested Viennese social elite from early on in his career. This included most of the famous musicians of the day. Aristocrats were impressed by his talents and supported him. He established himself as a famous piano player. But he wasn't known for his compositions just yet. In his late 20s, he started losing his hearing and experiencing a loud ringing in his ears. Since Beethoven lived for music, his approaching deafness devastated him completely. Imagine, a divine gift and his only passion, being slowly taken away from him forever. He thought seriously about suicide. After a catastrophic internal struggle, he decided it was worth it to keep going for his art. When he was 30, he premiered the famous septet, Opus 20, one of the most popular pieces in his lifetime. He was now starting to become well known and highly regarded as a composer, not just a pianist. The year was 1800. Beethoven Biography Part 2, Growing Reputation. This middle period is where Beethoven evolved as a composer, creating more heroic works depicting struggle and revolution. Napoleon Bonaparte, an influence on Beethoven's heroic and revolutionary music. The biggest example of this is the Third Symphony, called Eroica, Italian for heroic, which he dedicated to the Corsican revolutionary leader Napoleon Bonaparte. Beethoven became more grumpy and irritable around this time. He started dressing scruffily and untidily and was ruder towards other people. From here on he would care less and less about his appearance. He has a reputation for being a bit gruff and moody. I think he didn't like a conversation because of his hearing problems. Some people think this is because he never managed to find a wife. But I think it's because his musical genius was flowering and he didn't have the right frame of mind to bother with useless social manners. He was a stocky man. He would often stomp around Vienna, like later Viennese composer and Beethoven fanatic Johannes Brahms, deep in thought, looking like an eccentric genius. In 1809 various princes and an archduke gave Beethoven a lifetime annuity, but only if he stayed in Vienna. He readily agreed and settled there for the rest of his life. But late payments and currency devaluations make his income far from stable. Beethoven wrote more symphonies, including the Fifth Symphony, string quartets, and his only opera Fidelio over the next couple of years as well. He also composed some of his most well-known piano sonatas, like the Moonlight and the Waldstein. Beethoven Biography Part 3, Master Composer. The final years of Beethoven's life were tumultuous, the story of legends. By 1815 he was almost completely deaf, and his poor manners and personal appearance were even worse. He spent a lot of his later life trying to gain custody of his nephew Karl, whose father, Beethoven's brother, died in 1815. Beethoven, who wasn't very good at business or legal matters, used up a lot of his financial resources battling with Karl's mother. He eventually lost, which was a massive blow and damaged his ability to compose. His music from this period is very intellectual and intense. The most famous piece from this time is his Symphony 9, whose final movement has the Ode to Joy. He composed his last string quartets at this point, which shocked the musical world with their complex and modern sound. He became quite ill during the last years of his life, with gout, rheumatic fever, and a variety of other illnesses. He began to sketch out a 10th symphony whilst suffering on his deathbed, but he never got to complete it. While dying, his situation was terrible. He couldn't sleep at night, and he could barely move or drink. The grey skies outside only worsened his gloom. Ludwig van Beethoven died in March 1827, after 4 operations on a stomach wound which eventually got infected. 20,000 mourners lined Vienna's somber streets at the genius's funeral.